Speaking moistly. Speaking moistly. 2 meters apart. Speaking moistly.
Yes. Welcome to Speaking Moistly, everyone. With me, as usual, on a Thursday is Gilly. Gilly, how are you doing?
Hey, pretty good. How are you?
Good, good. It looked like we couldn't hear you there for a minute, but it looks like everything is all good. So, how are things in Alberta? Things seem to be brightening up. I've heard rumors that things will be opening up.
Well, as far as that's concerned, yeah, but brightening is, that's it apparently somewhere, but we're so filled with smoke right now, it's hard to tell.
Oh, really? It's lots of wildfires and things.
Mhm.
Really, really.
Yeah, and a lot of it just blows right in to Alberta, so we get a lot of smoke.
I heard that there's problems like
So if
that.
my eyes are running like crazy, it's the smoke.
Oh, really? Okay.
It's not
Interesting.
weird sadness and
Interesting. I heard that there are problems in northern Ontario with that right now as well. There's because of the same. I think it's the same, probably the same fires. I'm not sure though. I don't know if it's like blowing it that
Yeah.
far, but or blowing it that far. But that's incredible. But anyway, restrictions wise, I guess we're going to elevate this. We'll talk about this now because I jumped into that first, and then we'll talk about food. Restrictions wise, the Alberta government says Kian is ending special treatment for COVID and will officially begin treating it like the regular flu. Isolation following a positive COVID-19 test will no longer be required. The pandemic is officially over, says Kian. Is that like, are people partying in the streets, burning their masks? What's going on? Like tossing them into the big fire?
I wish that was what was
No.
going on. But the weirdest thing is that people are still wearing their masks. Um, and they're actually, I think, a little bit even more crazy than they were before they had sort of loosened everything up.
Interesting.
Because I've noticed people are taking like a much wider berth whenever I'm walking down the street without my mask.
Yeah, I would say,
Weird.
I'd say that there are people who are being careful still. In Ontario as well, I mean, we're open. Like we're supposed to, I guess we're in level 2 or 3 of being open, maybe moving into another level some point soon. And it doesn't feel like we're open. It feels very authoritarian still. It feels really like businesses are 50%. And you can't really make what you need to make in order to make it worthwhile to run a business if you can't have in like a full room of people who are all partaking in, eating and making merry and whatever. So it's very interesting.
And we do have that. People like you can go to a restaurant and that's all fine. It's
That's
walking down the street. A friend of mine, my roommate, actually went and had to have a blood test done this morning, and she said it was so bizarre where they're taking the blood. They have chairs in front of the desk that you have to go up to. So whenever they ask for your ID, she's kind of tossing it over to try to get it to them.
That's
Like
weird.
just nuts.
It's,
And that's here in Alberta. I'm like,
Yeah.
what is wrong with people?
it seems very anti-human. It seems like
Yeah.
a very anti-human way of managing the world. I don't know, like all of it makes me uncomfortable. It's sad to hear that even though there are restrictions opening up, and maybe in 2 weeks it'll be different, right? But they're just opening them up today or tomorrow.
Because we've had freedom since July 1st.
Okay.
So Canada Day was like sort of Freedom Day for Alberta.
Yeah.
But there's still sort of that that thing in people's mind. I mean, we quote Catherine McKenna all the time because she said it so eloquently. You say something loud enough and long enough and people will believe you.
Say
So-
over and over. Yep.
Exactly. There's been fear been pumped into people's minds for the last year and a half. So they're still afraid regardless of the fact that they're being told now, told, sort of, that you don't need to be afraid. Oh, but there's that Delta variant that is going to be in one of my books
Yeah.
someday.
Called the Delta variant by who's
I'm
that
thinking
guy?
a
Dan
character.
Brown. Dan Brown, right? That was the
Yes.
same. It sounds like a Dan Brown novel.
I love Dan Brown. So,
Digital Fortress.
well,
Yeah.
okay.
I like the Da Vinci Code. It was pretty good.
Yes.
It was pretty good.
I like Da Vinci Code and Angels and Demons. That series was really good.
I liked Angels and Demons enough. I liked Da Vinci better. and the last one in the Angels and Demons series was just awful. It was just terrible.
Yeah, it sucked.
Yeah, I was like, this is just two thumbs down, two thumbs down.
I don't even think I got to the end of it because it just
No.
sucked
Yeah,
so quickly. Like, the first third, I'm going, what is going
Yeah.
on?
There's no cohesive anything about this. Yeah, I agree. So here is geriatric butt crack parody, and he says, "I'm a rancher. We aren't seeing any more money on our end. Pending feed shortages has resulted in full cows destined for burger off 20% for usual July prices." So I've been saying that around here. Oh, hold on a second. We got to pause it. I've got to knock at my door. Okay, I can't remember exactly where I am or exactly what I was saying, but essentially the cows and the meat is either cost the rancher gets less, and he's saying the pending feed shortages are resulting in what shortages or impacting the supply chain of these meats, and that's a problem. And I haven't seen that. Like when I go to the store, the price is pretty much the same as it has been for the whole pandemic for a lot of the meats. The meats have been, because I look every time, because I want to tell people what I'm seeing actually, right? And so like what's happening up there?
Tell us that there's going to be this huge
massive shortage.
Yeah, exactly. Meat's going to cost so much, and I just keep getting this sort of image of the EU with the mountains of butter that went to waste because of the way that they were trying to control the market. And I'm like, okay, so what part of this is part of market control or getting people to panic buy or something?
Yeah, well, the toilet paper thing, right? And
yeah, exactly.
The same with the lumber. I've seen images of stockpiled lumber at all these shipping yards and all these staging grounds and some of these lows in like far off places. And I think to myself, well, like 3 weeks ago, people were buying futures in lumber because the price was getting so high. And like any thinking person,
how much of it is market manipulation?
Right. But any thinking person says this can't last because we have to build, well, their whole system depends on building houses as fast as people come in. So if there's nowhere for people to live, I mean, like, welcome to communism. We're going to buy a fifth of your house, but like, yikes, right? So I don't think people, I think part of this whole thing is they have to get buy-in from people at some level because they can't just like walk people into your house. Can they? Can they do that, do you think? I don't think they can.
Well, that goes against castle laws, which go back as far as the Magna Carta. But, I mean, what laws do we have in this country anymore that you can actually have enforced? Because everything that we have seen
depends on what stage of development you're at in the human development phase, right? Depends. Like your access to law is different if you are not born yet in Canada, right? Your access, you don't have any recourse if somebody wants to kill you because you would inconvenience them or you might inconvenience them. You don't have protection against that in Canada, right? Like you can just get killed.
That's a crafty way of saying the A word without saying the A word.
Right. Try and game the system a little bit, but I mean, like within the context of a legal argument, if you're below 9 months old, or if you're zero and in gestation, if you're a preborn person, you don't have any legal rights whatsoever. And then like within,
I like that. I think we should start using that, a preborn person.
Oh yeah, no, that's a term. Yeah, preborn person. That's a term.
Okay.
Yeah, it's used. It was used in my campaign in 2019.
Nice. It
was a whole there are groups of people who identify. Tyler Thompson, Laura.
Oh, Laura Lynn Tyler.
Laura Lynn, that's it. Yeah. She's a big advocate for that. But I mean, I'm not trying to hijack either. Like in our current modern country, I guess we have a very limited access to the basic laws of our country. Like the Constitution, I've been saying for a while, it seems like we're in martial law. We're under a situation where the Constitution is suspended and we get some of the aspects of the Constitution, but only when it's convenient for the government and not. Yeah. We don't really actually have access to that freedom that we want. And they're trying to remove our freedom of speech.
If you try to get justice, you're met with brick walls and a judiciary that goes, sorry. We're not even looking at the evidence. We're not even going to.
Yeah. They don't even address the constitutionality. They say this is the bylaw as written, and you violated the bylaw as written, and it's an emergency, so you violated the bylaw, pay the fine. And we're not going to look at the constitutionality because that's beyond the jurisdiction of the court. Because they say,
like, yeah, but you're the Supreme Court,
right? But they say if the Supreme Court,
jurisdiction.
Yeah, but they say, I think that the whole problem is this: if the Supreme Court says that it's not constitutional, then that undoes everything that every province has done, like just like that. And so the judge is worried that, and I mean, not right or wrong. I think that they should do their gosh darn job.
Yes. Please.
But this is the concern. This is the human side of that concern, or maybe the non-human side of that concern, is that the judge understands, the person in that role understands that if they invalidate it, they invalidate everything. And so nobody wants to be that judge, even though it needs to be done, even though a ruling needs to be set. And then if they say yes, then you have something to fight back against. But if they say yes, it should continue because it's constitutionally valid, then you could at least fight against that. But just saying we're not going to deal with it, that's a cop-out. But I think they're doing it on purpose to cop out.
It's interesting that we got there from talking about food prices.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking about that too. It's like, constitutionality, eh? Well, it's a complex argument, for crying out loud. But yeah, I think that, I hope, I've been talking about how they use nudging as well to influence not just like the individual, and they've been doing this since at least 2008, 2009, and I've got newspaper articles that talk about this. So they're using psychological nudges to change things, but what they use is
they've been actually acknowledging it since 2008, but it's been happening for a long time.
But this is a corporate level nudge to reduce the incentive, the monetary incentive for farmers to continue to make these things. They're feeding the animal, keeping the animal fed and viable to feed us, expensive and not business friendly. Like, you'd rather buy a website and deal in information than raise these cows for slaughter, right? And so that's a nudge. And instead of legislating, they're
when you think about it, they're also manipulating the free market economy that we're supposed to live under, because a lot of these people came up with the idea that capitalism is bad and wrong, even though that is the same thing that has provided so much wealth throughout the world and taken so many people out of poverty. Yeah. But they ignore that part, and they just focus on, the 1% are getting rich at the expense of everybody else. Well, it's a far more complicated situation than what they would like it to be.
It's way more. So, like, a good example is T-shirts. Something as simple as shirts. So when a company makes a shirt like this, let's say a Super Bowl shirt, a company will run both winners, right? And then they'll sell, they'll say it's a Rams Giants game. So they'll run like Rams Super Bowl 2020 winners, and then Giants Super Bowl 2020 winners. And then they'll ship the other shirts for free to third world countries and just hand them out to, donate them, and they get a tax receipt and blah 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 blah. And they've made the excess, so there is excess to give, and it costs them nothing because the other side of the run covers the cost of all of the shirts. So that's capitalism in a quick nutshell. But what they want is this, what's it called, this managed capitalism that they want? Do you know the term? Freeland uses it. It's I can't remember.
Stakeholder capitalism.
Yeah, right. That's it. Right. Bam. Okay. Yeah. There's like 4 people watching her. Like, stakeholder capitalism, you idiot.
Yeah, probably.
Anyway,
okay, we both just had brain farts at the same time.
Yeah, people, what is it? What's that system? Anyway, the stakeholder capitalism.
There's a handful of insane people in the world. Okay.
The stakeholder capitalism system says if you have a shirt, there's a company that's got shirts ready to make, and all you have to do is tell them that you need a shirt, and they'll know you need a shirt because they're stakeholders in what you need, because the business and community need to meld. It's such bullshit. It's like fairy farts are going to power Alberta. It's incredible. It's incredible what these people believe. But
it's the whole idea of in some way like a controlled market, which is like
Yes.
definition of communism, right?
Yep.
But the idea is, or the question is, who controls the market? Who tells you what you get to have or what you need to have?
Big Brother.
Well,
Dear leader.
apparently. But what does Big Brother look like now? Is it a bunch of SJWs with blue hair and I don't know. And do they really know what's good for me?
They just graduated, and you're damn right they know, because they were told they know
Because
what's
they got
best
all
for
the
you.
theory.
That's right. Because a
And
teacher,
theory runs the
that's
world.
Nenchi, who was paid by somebody to be in his position, in the
I
mayor's
just love to
position.
beat him up.
He's the political science teacher who's radicalizing our
Yeah, next
students.
generation of Calgarians. Yeah,
Yes.
thanks very
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. The NDP making inroads. Yes, blue hair people are making the decisions, and it's terrifying.
Yeah, and not the old blue hair people, because the old blue hair people would probably make better decisions. We're talking about the new ones
They would.
that,
Yes.
because it used to be the blue hair was the old ladies.
Yeah, I remember. Bingo.
Now
The
it means a whole other thing.
So Justin Trudeau.
Maybe I should say purple hair.
Yeah, purple hair. Justin Trudeau is campaigning. Have you been noticing the campaign of Justin Trudeau and his Liberal Party members announcing spending all around Atlantic Canada?
At the expense of taxpayers that they're
Yes.
not supposed to do, but are doing anyway. Yeah. It's hard to ignore.
It is. Every other day there's a new announcement. This one's Andrew Fury, who is not the columnist for the Toronto Sun, but is the premier of Newfoundland. Excuse me. He is meeting with Justin Trudeau. I don't know that like crossing your arms and being like close enough to like hug is really keeping your distance. Anyway,
It does look very tender and intimate,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
I mean, if
even
you-
though the math is wrong.
what's the other hand doing for Fury, right?
Should we really?
But like the hypocrisy is just kind of funny to be this on display. But
Oh, it's
but
ridiculous.
in this situation, the Muskrat Falls, they've got $5.2 billion announced for the people of Newfoundland, and so they're breathing a sigh of relief, knowing their power bills won't double. So federally, they're spending federal dollars that's outside of the budget we kind of got from Freeland earlier this year. So this is new spending promised on the pre-election tour de spending Justin Trudeau's on. And so that's all of that seems like odd. Odd isn't the right word. All of that seems sneaky, right?
Oh, it's gross.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about it. Okay, so where is all of this money to pay for all of these things coming from, considering that there has been limited productivity coming out of the country?
Well, not just limited productivity, but the government has been spending money to keep people not productive, to keep people at home and
Exactly.
not doing anything. Yeah. So
So our productivity is down because they're paying people to stay home. Well, I mean, even in because living in Alberta, close to the mountains, a lot of tourism happens there, and there are places that are closing down at 2 p.m, like restaurants and things, because they can't, like, they don't have their foreign people that come in, because usually you get students from Europe and what have you that come and will work in the restaurants and stuff during the summer. And they can't get people because of the restrictions on travel, and then add to it that Canadians who would normally go, like for the university students and what have you, that would usually go there for the summer as well to work, they're not coming because you get $2,000 to sit at home on your butt, or $1,500 to go and actually work a day.
yeah.
What are you going to pick?
It's hard to make an argument against that. And interestingly enough as well, like if I had a student ready to go to university or something like that, I would discourage them, because what's going on in the universities is just criminal. I can't believe what they're doing. I'd say don't go, don't bother. They're just indoctrinating you anyway. It's a waste of your money, and it's a waste of your intelligence to go and learn the bullshit that they're
What are they
spinning.
really learning? I heard Ryerson's was teaching journalism at Ryerson. Instead of teaching actual journalism, who, what, when, where, why, they're teaching diversity and sensitivity and safe spaces. And it's like, that's not journalism.
Yep.
In fact, it should be the opposite. A journalist should make a politician extremely uncomfortable, because they should be asking the tough questions.
Yeah, well, and sure, and a politician should be able to answer those questions. Like, you shouldn't be able to answer
And actually,
questions.
not just a bunch of words strung together.
Yeah, well, right. I mean, Justin Trudeau is a master of all of that, and of speaking and not answering questions is what I mean. Like
Yeah,
it's a frustrating exercise being Canadian these days. It used to be something that
it is.
was something to be proud of, right? But
When words like transparency actually mean opaque as you can make it.
yeah, transparent government, eh? Hmm. Uh,
Yeah.
so we started with Alberta and you guys opening up. In Ontario, it has been an awful go for children in schools. They're they're segregating kids in like the 12 to 17 group who can be vaccinated. They're segregating them and having like vaccinated and unvaccinated with different levels of what expectations. So if you're unvaccinated, you get 10 days off of school if
Star?
you're yeah, basically, but you get 10 days off of school if you are unvaccinated, and then you have to get a test after 7 days, and if the test after 7 days is still positive, then you have to do another 10 days. So up to 20 days off of school if you're in a
So pretty much a month.
yeah. So, and I mean, like when I was in grade 9, I'd be like, okay, like sounds
Who's
good,
been near
man.
somebody
Yeah,
who has been
where
near somebody?
I've
Let
got
me
a
rub up against you.
I've got a very important video game, and I'd really
Mhm.
4, 5 uninterrupted days where my parents are working, and I can like work on these quests. Like, and not to say that every kid's going to be like that. There's going to be kids they're taking band. Okay, well the um, limits on extracurricular choir, band, and athletics. So um,
Mhm.
they're saying like you can't have access to that. Now there are kids who for me, I did not have access to those things because I did not do most of those things. Um, just not, it wasn't my thing, I don't know, extracurricular. I was like, you want me to waste my time at school when I could go and like work a job? I was like, I'm walking to work. They're gonna pay me to be there. Why do
Mhm.
you like? You want me to play music here? No thanks. Like, I'll see you later. I've got things to do. So it wasn't really my bag. But there are kids who would be upset that they can't do that. And I mean, like realistically, right now, if I was a kid and working in a fast food place, they'd probably be like, "Oh, you should get your vaccine." Blah 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 blah. So I think the coercion is just unbelievable because
The coercion is disgusting. And here, like, even whenever you're looking at that, so one of the younger kids, you take them out of school for 20 days. Well, now they have to make up all of that schoolwork
you know,
in not maybe not the best sort of situation. Where does that child go? I mean, does this mean that parents have to stay home then?
they're
So
trying
then
to
you're
make it.
taking mom out of the workforce.
Yeah.
Is where's the feminists now? Like there's all this trail of tears that they
Mm-hmm.
just keep building up,
Yep.
and they don't seem to think it out. They don't know
Oh, I
from
think they're
point
thinking
A
it
to
out.
point Z. Well, but it's going to affect kids' education. It's
Mm-hmm.
going to be disruptive for
Yep.
children.
Yep.
I keep hearing myself say the same phrase over and over again. What is wrong with their heads? Like, who is thinking this out, and who's going along with it?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Well,
parents are having to go along with this stuff because what else are you going to do if you've got a job and you're low income and you know?
Well, hold on. Low income is defined by what, right? Like because like there is everybody needs their job. There's nobody who's working for fun, really. I think. Well, there are people who work for fun. Retired
Okay,
people.
what do we do, Mark?
There are people who work for fun, but there most of the time people are needed and they need their job and they don't have the ability to say like this and no further and I quit and you can shove it up your like
Yeah.
most people don't have that low income, high income. If you've got a job and you're making $100,000 a year, you could view that as high income, and you could also view that as low income if you're the only person making any money in your household and your mortgage is $700,000, right? Like there are situations where that's just barely getting by, right? So and that's
Yes.
just the reality of this world right now, and
Mhm.
so like everybody needs their job. Nobody can afford to well, nobody. There are people again who can afford to speak out, but there are very few people in the big majority, the big mushy middle, who are even willing. I mean, look at the. We got 5 minutes to finish up. Google's
Okay.
telling me we got 5 minutes. But look at the number of people who complied with masks and masking, right? Like
Yes.
that's an incredible amount of
It's a slippery slope. You start
is.
complying because it's there's an old term, rice bowling. Whenever they threaten to take away your livelihood, then you will do whatever you have to do because you've got kids to feed
Yep.
and a roof to keep over your head and etc. You know.
Right, and that's it. And like these tactics are as old as humanity because they work.
Yeah.
Because everybody's
Exactly.
like, it's the reason Superman, even though he's invulnerable, has weak points, right? Like, because anybody who creates a relationship has weak points, so has
We all have
vulnerable
kryptonite.
points. Yeah, right. We all have a heart, despite people saying like that you're heartless, right? Duck forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on. It's wild and crazy, and I don't think kids deserve it.
Oh, I mean, we only have 5 minutes. We could go on for 5 hours
Oh, we
because
could.
there is so much daily basis that are just mind blowing.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's a situation where every day I wake up, I realize and understand more and more that the longer this goes on, the further I get from living in a country that looks like the country I lived in 2 years ago, right? Like 2019, the time, January to whenever 2019, January, well, no, the whole year, I guess, that was normal. And now, and we're further and further away from normal, and people trying to claim we're returning to normal and it's going to be good for you and all things are going to be better and stuff. They're using that carrot, and it's a lie. I don't think that they want to return to normal. Everything they're doing says they don't.
Well, I mean, it's this whole new normal. So what they're calling normal is the new normal, which is not normal at all.
Not normal at all. Yeah. It's a bait and switch, and
yeah,
I smell a trap. All right, tell them where they can find you and all of that final stuff and last thoughts, and we'll wrap it up.
Okay, you can find all of my links at gillydavis.com, and that's Gilly with a G.
And a Y.
Just to confuse things. And a Y, yeah. To keep confusing people, why not? and well, I mean, speaking of confusing, the whole situation right now is confusing, it's complex, and to try to come up with some kind of a solution is going to take all of us putting as much brain power into it as we possibly can. So
yeah, and there's lots of there's so much stuff going on. It's like a washing machine, and like I don't know how anybody could possibly keep up. I try and keep up, and I'm like, nope. I'll just follow these stories. Like, what did I miss? I'm like, Derek Sloan has a new party.
Yeah, I was there for the announcement, and then everybody else was scooping me. I'm like, okay.
Oh well. All right. Well, thanks for joining us, Gilly. Everyone else, thanks for watching as well. And I'm gonna get the Prime Minister to play us out before they cut the call off, because they probably will. And thanks for watching, everybody. Here's the Prime Minister to play us out. Not gonna go. Oh, it is.
Speaking moistly, keep 2 meters apart. Speaking moistly, speaking moistly, keep 2 meters apart. Speaking moistly. Oh, what a terrible image.